Hello guys, it's Exhaust here, and today you're doing piano for beginners. Now, that away, let's get into it. What? Here we go. Understanding chords. How to construct and play common chords. Okay. The major chord isn't the only kind to have a formula like this. Table to the right list many of those common kinds of chords and how they are constructed. When you look at the sheet music, you may see letters above the stave. These are chords that the melody is based on. You find the right hand or left hand. Part 2 is challenged. You find the right hand or left hand. Part 2 challenging. Then playing the correct chord instead will sound great. Using versions. Achieve a different take on many basic chords by employing inversions. Playing chords, no matter what kind, would be pretty boring if all you could do was play them the same way all the time. No matter how you change the way you use them, the notes will always sound the same. Okay, you can use handy inversion to play the notes you think sound best, but in different ways. Rather than just playing C, the root, the E, the third above it, and the G, the fifth above that to play C major. You can start with E, play G above it, and then play C above G. So you're playing C that's an octave higher than the one playing the first chord. This is what's known as first inversion of C major. It's still C major as it contains 3 notes that make up the chord, but it's played in different order. To play a second inversion of C major, the bass note must be G, the second note. The bass note must be G, second note C, the same one that's played in the first inversion, and the third note, the E after that. Although the chords are technically the same in name, the different sound can help add interest to a piece. Versions aren't just handy for varying sounds though. You also have transition different chords. Let's imagine you want to play a C major then a minor. Rather than moving your whole hand down the keyboard to play both chords, position just need to move your little finger from G to the A. Thanks to versions, you can play completely different chords with the minimum of effort. Inversions aren't just handy for varying sounds, they also keep transitions between chords. Major chords. Major chords are an essential tool for budding pianists, such as an accompaniment or as part of a melody. A third chord comprises the 3 notes played simultaneously, a root, a major, third, and a perfect fifth. Terms, major third, and the perfect fifth arise in the major scale of the root note. These intervals are the third and fifth notes respectively. The major chords are more commonly used in notice. And your repertoire increases, you may notice how particular sequences are of major chords from the basis root is the note of the chord is named after. C major. For example, to identify major third, count 4 semitones up from the root for black or white keys in C major, simply noted in music as C. The major third is E. And complete the triad count in the third There are 3 semitones up from the major third. And C, the perfect fifth is G. Once you have mastered this formation, you use it to calculate any major chord. With practice, you'll find you can hear the happy ambience that this structure creates in order to identify it. If a chord does not recognize root note, then it's an inversion. The first inversion begins on the major third. In C major, this would produce the structure A. And the second inversion begins on the perfect fifth. In C major, this produces the structure GCE. Generally, when playing major chords, the common finger is 5-3-1 in the left hand and playing 1-5-1-3-5 on the right. As your repertoire increases, and you may have noticed some particular sequences from the basis of most complex compositions. Minor chords. Minor chords are the mood swingers of the chord repertoire and add depth to your progressions. Minor chords have a near identical structure to that of the respective major. The only difference being the major third is lowered by 1 semitone, producing a minor third. Minor chords are reowned by the solemn melody-tone, including my melody-tone, including my melody by Rem, or Mendelssohn Symphony No. 3. However, most Western music is written in the major key will include some minor chords, add the richness to the melody. As we'll cover later in chord progressions using combinations of G, D, E, M, C, the formula for an overwhelming majority of popular music. Take most Beatles mastering the use of major minor chords will add a beautiful quality to your playing. Your mood to construct a minor chord. Come on, voice tech. To construct a minor chord, first locate the root. E for EM, for example, to identify the minor, third count 3 semitones up from the root. In EM, the minor third is G. To complete the triad, count a further 4 semitones up from the major third. In EM, the perfect fifth is B. Remember, if a chord does not begin as root note, it is known as inversion. The first inversion begins on the minor third. In EM, you play G, E, B. Second inversion begins on the fifth. EM, you play B, beg. When playing minor triads, the common fingering is 5-3-1s in the left hand and 1-5-3-5 in the right. Mastering using minor chords will add a beautiful quality to your playing with every mood. The chords we have examined so far all involve the third note in the corresponding scale. However, the thing that defines the suspended chord is that it doesn't use the third note at all. In the world of piano compositions, the two most common suspended chords are sus2 and sus4. In order to play a sus2 chord, you must place the third from a major or a minor chord instead using the minor second. The second note in the chord's corresponding minor scale. You see, as an example, you replace the E in the C major chord with the D. So to play a C sus2 chord, you play a C, D, and a G at the same time. Note that the root C, note that the root and the perfect fifth remain the same. To play a sus4 chord, you must place the third from major or minor chord. But this time, use the fourth note in the chord's corresponding minor scale. The interval between the root note and the fourth is known as a perfect fourth. So you're playing a C/4, you'll play a C, F, and G. Try alternating between C major, C/2, and C/4. To hear how suspended chords work in pop music, we have a listen to Eras Assured a Little Respect. The keyword part shifts from a major minor chord to a sus4 to give the progression of a little more variation. In order to play a sus2 chord, you must replace the third for a major or minor chord and instead use the minor second. There you go. Augmented notes. Augmented notes can liven up a piece of music, but should be used sparingly. As with the other triads, add a bit of spice to your chord progressions with an automated way. Wait a minute, I remember this. As with other triads, an automated chord is a form of a root, a third, and a fifth note. The key difference between an augmented chord and a simple major or minor chord is that each note is a major third, 4 semitones apart. For example, where C would be formed of the notes formed of C, E, G, the interval between the third and the fifth note has increased or augmented by 1 semitone. The interval between the third and the fifth note has increased or augmented by 1 semitone. Thus, technically a minor augmented chord cannot exist. At first, an augmented chord may sound a little odd, but used as a transition between two chords, they become powerful tools. Now, powerful melodic tools. Listen to this part here. When you play C in this root position, try moving your fifth finger from D to G sharp while keeping your thumb and third finger in C and E. Now move from C plus to F in the second inversion. C, F, A. Here are the dissonance provided by G sharp has now created an interesting transition between C and F. We'll practice this further in the next session. Its augmented chord does not start on this root note. It's called inversion. G plus, the first version, will begin on the major third. B. While on the second version of the chord, will begin on the augmented fifth itself, D sharp. The common fingering used is 5-3-1 in the left hand and 1-3-5 in the right. Wait, what? Diminished notes. A diminished chord is the form of a stack of minor thirds. Diminished chords can add a really interesting sound to your playing, but must be used in moderation. major piece is in a major key, then the diminished chord occurs naturally last root on the 7th note of that scale. In the key of G major, for example, the diminished chord would be F dim. The formal chord first locate the root note, F sharp. Then count up 3 semitones to locate the minor third, A. The 5th note lies under minor third up in the note C. If, however, your piece is in a minor key, then naturally occurring diminished chord will be built from the 2nd note of that minor scale. In the key of C minor, for example, the diminished triad is D flat dim, D, F, and A flat. You'll find that the most common composers incorporate diminished chords into playing by using the diminished 7th. It is an identical structure but with a 4th note added on top. This note lies another minor third above the 5th note triad. C dim 7 would therefore comprise the notes C, E flat, G flat, and A. Playing 7th chords, usually fingering the 1, 2, 3, 5, works best in the right hand, and 5, 3, 4, 2, 1 in the left. Just because it is harder to use a 4-finger independently of the 3rd. The other 7s are often used as resolution chords. The best way to understand this is to hear it. Play C dim 7 and practice revolving to G major. Sounds pretty jazzy, right? Dominant 7 chords. Dominant 7 chords, 7, major, minor 7s, and all that jazz. Or switch, whatever it is. Jazz. Dominant 7, sometimes called the major minor 7, is a chord formed of 4 notes: a root, minor third, and a perfect fifth, with an added minor 7 tone. We want to add minor 7. Let's walk through an example here. To play C dominant 7, known as C7, first one, the minor triad, C, E, G. Instead of playing this, you're fingering 1, 3, 5 in the right or 3, 5, 3, 1 in the left. You should use 1, 2, 3 or 5, 2 or 5, 3, 2 respectively. This then leaves your thumb or 5th finger free to add the minor 7 to the chord. Remember that this note will be 3 semitones above the perfect fifth. In the particular example, B flat, and there are 4 notes at the 7th chord, have a third verb beginning on the minor 7 itself, C7, C4. And the minor version will be B flat, keg. The 7th chord is commonly found in jazz and blues music. In the tradition rock and roll, think Hound Dog by Elvis Presley or So What by Miles Davis is often used as a resolving chord. This means that played on its own, it may sound unfinished. Whereas, followed by a particular moderate major chord, it can make an interesting ending to a bar or piece. The chord that you just learned, C7, results in F. Because C is the 5th tone of C major scale, of the F major scale. This trick can be used with 2 chords so long as the root note of the 7 is the perfect fifth of the major chord. And all that for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. And see you again very, very soon. Later.